Did you know that in the earliest draft of Total Recall, the ending was completely different from what audiences saw in theaters? Did you know the official novelization reveals that the alien machine on Mars could trigger a supernova that wipes out the entire solar system? Or that the studio once considered turning Minority Report into a sequel to Total Recall? Today, we're uncovering 12 hidden truths about Total Recall 1990, including shocking Easter eggs that reveal a secret connection to RoboCop and The Terminator. Number 1. The ending where Quaid was never human. Before Total Recall became the film we know today, there was a completely different ending hidden inside the original script written by Dan O'Bannon and Arnold Schwarzenegger. In their version, Quaid was originally Earth's top-secret agent, sent to Mars, where he entered an ancient alien compound. Inside that compound, the alien machine killed the real Quaid and created a perfect synthetic duplicate of him. That duplicate was so powerful that he became a direct threat to Earth itself. But because no one could destroy him, the only way they could control him was to erase his memory and make him believe he was nobody. At the end of the story, Quaid places his hand on the alien device and the handprint matches only his hand. The moment he touches it, all of his memories suddenly come flooding back. He realizes that he is not human at all, but a resurrection of the entire Martian race living inside a synthetic body. However, because of creative differences between Dan and Ronald, this version of the script was ultimately abandoned. Number 2. The sequel that became something else. For those who do not know, Total Recall was adapted from We Can Remember It For You Wholesale, a short story by Philip K. Dick. After the film became a huge hit, Carol Co. Pictures quickly moved to develop a sequel by purchasing the rights to another Philip K. Dick story, Minority Report, and turning it into an early project titled Total Recall 2. In the script, the story took place several years after Mars gained oxygen. Because of radiation from the alien machine at the end of the first film, Quaid developed the ability to see the future. His new power led the United States Police to recruit him to stop crimes before they happened, which is where the plot began to blend into what later became Minority Report. In the end, the sequel never moved forward because Arnold Schwarzenegger was not interested and chose to focus on True Lies instead. Number 3. A sharpest satire to real disaster. Just like RoboCop and Starship Troopers, Paul Verhoeven packed the film with sharp satire aimed at American corporate power in the late 80s and early 90s. One of the darkest parallels comes from a tragic accident known as the Bhopal disaster. In 1984, a pesticide plant owned by the American company Union Carbide in Bhopal, India, experienced a toxic gas leak that killed thousands of people within just a few hours. Hundreds of thousands of others suffered permanent disabilities, blindness, and genetic damage passed down to their children and grandchildren. After the investigation, it was proven that the company had reduced safety standards to cut operating costs and maximize profit. That same kind of corporate greed shows up in the movie through Cohagen, who slashes radiation protection on Mars to save money, fully aware that the workers exposed to it will end up disfigured into mutants. It is one of the clearest examples of how the film turns real industrial tragedy into a brutal piece of sci-fi commentary. Number 4. The novel changed everything. There is a bizarre alternate version of Total Recall hidden in its official novelization, written by Piers Anthony, and it changes the story in a huge way. In the novel, the aliens behind the terraforming machine are revealed to be a race called the Noe, a literal-minded species completely incapable of understanding figurative language or abstract concepts. But what makes them truly terrifying is their failsafe. The Noe planted a hidden device inside their Mars technology designed so that if any species ever misused or destroyed it, the local star would go supernova, wiping out the entire solar system. If humanity could reach Mars and activate the machine correctly, they would be welcomed into the alien community as traders. The novel also removed the film's famous ambiguity about whether Quaid's experience was real or just a dream, and instead treated everything as events that actually happened. Number 5. The machine that questions reality. Many philosophers use total recall to explain a famous thought experiment called the experience machine, popularized by Robert Nozick. The idea is simple but unsettling. Imagine a machine that can simulate any life you want, whether becoming an astronaut, a Nobel Prize winner, or a superhero. Inside that machine, you would feel completely happy, even though your real body would simply be asleep with your brain connected to wires. The question is, would you choose to live inside that machine? Many people say they would reject it because it feels like living inside a dream instead of reality. But this is where Morpheus from The Matrix offers a powerful counter-argument when he asks Neo,
"This isn't real."
What is real? How do you define real? If you're talking about what you can feel, what you can smell, what you can taste and see, then real is simply electrical signals interpreted by your brain.
If you agree with Morpheus, then choosing the machine starts to sound surprisingly logical, especially if happiness is what you truly want. And that is why the ending still sparks debate today, because if reality is only something your brain interprets, then maybe whether you see the film as Quaid's dream or as reality makes no difference from the very beginning. Number 6. Dream or reality? One question that still divides fans today is whether Quaid's entire experience is real or just a dream. The movie definitely plants clues for the dream theory. Early on, recall officers offered Quaid a package called Blue Sky on Mars, which sounds almost exactly like the film's final outcome. On Recall's monitor, the computerized woman shown by the technician is an exact match for Melina, the woman Quaid later meets on Mars. Then there is Dr. Jamar, who warns Quaid that if he kills him inside the dream, the walls will come crashing down. Interestingly, right after Quaid shoots Edgemar, the hotel walls really do collapse, and if this were reality, the timing feels almost impossibly perfect. However, the argument that Quaid's entire experience is real may actually be stronger. First, the film includes several scenes where Quaid is not there at all. If everything was only his dream, then technically the audience should not be seeing events he never directly experienced. Second, even before entering Recall, Quaid keeps having nightmares about Mars, and many fans believe those dreams are fragments of real memories that were never fully erased. This theory fits perfectly with Philip K. Dick's Sci-Fi world, where memory erasure is never completely perfect. Hauser, Quaid's original identity, had already been to Mars, and the moment he nearly fell off a Martian cliff may have left a deep trauma that stayed buried in his mind. So what do you think? Dream or reality? Drop your argument in the comments. Number 7. The real-life three-breast hoax. One of the most famous images from the movie is the three-breasted mutant hooker, and there is a fascinating real-life story connected to it. In 2014, a woman from Florida named Alicia Hessler suddenly went viral after claiming she had paid $20,000 for surgery to add a third breast. She told the media she wanted to make herself unattractive to men so she would never have to date again. The internet immediately exploded because many people linked her to the famous three-breasted mutant from Total Recall. But medical experts were skeptical from the beginning, pointing out that such a surgery would be extremely difficult because of blood supply and skin tissue limitations. The story finally unraveled when airport police found the fake breast inside her bag. It later became clear that her main motivation was to gain publicity with the hope of becoming famous and landing her own reality TV show. Number 8. The Secret Trilogy Theory. A long-running fan theory says Total Recall secretly belongs to the same universe to another Verhoeven film, RoboCop and Starship Troopers. It begins in RoboCop, where corporations start taking over the role of the state and turn law enforcement into a business built for maximum profit. Then, that same corporation expands their power into space, evolving into full colonial control where basic human needs, like oxygen, become monopolized commodities on Mars. By the time of Starship Troopers, the system has reached its final form. Corporations and military ideology shape society so completely that democracy is gone, and citizenship becomes a reward earned only through military service. Fans also point to small visual clues that make the theory even more convincing. The soldiers on Mars wear helmets that look strikingly similar to the mobile infantry gear in Starship Troopers. Then there is the wildest connection of all. Some fans believe Richter and Lieutenant John Raschak are actually the same person. After losing arms, Richter had his memory erased by the government, then somehow returned in Starship Troopers as Raschak, a battle-hardened veteran who was still missing one arm. Number 9. Verhoeven's Revenge. Paul Verhoeven was famously hostile toward censorship and any attempt to soften what happened on screen. During the intimate scenes between Arnold Schwarzenegger and Sharon Stone in Total Recall, he originally wanted Stone to appear far more provocative and revealing. In his view, Laurie's sexuality was not just seduction, it was a weapon. He believed that the more intense and unsettling Laurie felt, the more clearly the audience would sense the mental prison she was building around Quaid. At the time, however, Sharon Stone had not yet become a major star, and she felt uncomfortable with Verhoeven's request. However, 2 years later, Verhoeven worked with her again in Basic Instinct, and this time he finally got his revenge by casting her in a role that became far more daring and controversial than anything he had wanted from her the first time. Number 10. Hidden Sci-Fi Easter Egg. Behind its explosive action and sharp satire, Total Recall is filled with clever nods to classic science fiction films. One of the easiest to miss appears when Quaid checks into the Hilton on Mars using the fake name Brubaker, a direct reference to Capricorn 1, where Charles Brubaker leads a fake Mars mission staged by the government. That connection quietly strengthens the theory that everything happening on Mars may exist only inside Quaid's mind. Another hidden tribute appears when the rec hall salesman says,
"No matter where you go, there you are. It's always the same old you."
a famous line originally spoken by Buckaroo Banzai in The Adventures of Buckaroo Banzai Across the Eighth Dimension. Then there is one of the film's funniest callbacks. At the Mars checkpoint, an old woman suddenly says, in a perfectly flat tone, and Quaid casually salutes her, a clear wink to the Terminator, where the T-800 delivers the exact same line with the same emotionless tone. Number 11. Arnold Took Control. The film was originally being developed by legendary producer Dino De Laurentiis. However, while Total Recall was still in development, Dino suffered a financial collapse after 3 of his expensive productions, Dune, Taipan, and King Kong Lives, all performed poorly at the box office and failed to recover their massive budgets. Seeing an opportunity, Arnold Schwarzenegger, who had wanted the role for years, convinced Carolco Pictures to purchase the rights to Total Recall. Because he personally brought the project to the studio, he gained unusually strong creative control, with influence over the script, the marketing, and even the choice of director. Arnold personally approached Paul Verhoeven to direct the film because he admired the satirical violence in RoboCop. Verhoeven immediately agreed, especially because he was fascinated by the script's psychological ambiguity, something that ultimately helped shape the film into a far more intense and unpredictable experience. Number 12. The Food Poisoning Disaster. While filming in Mexico City, the production ran into a disaster that had nothing to do with explosions or mutants. Nearly the entire cast and crew, around 500 people, were hit with severe food poisoning after being exposed to the local water. Even Paul Verhoeven suffered such a serious stomach infection that he lost 25 pounds and had to direct some scenes sitting in a chair with an IV attached to his arm. The situation became so severe that actor Marshall Bell, who played George and Quato, recalled that almost every day someone would faint or have to be carried off the set because of dehydration. But despite all of that, Arnold Schwarzenegger is the only person who looked completely healthy and never got sick. He had learned his lesson after getting dysentery while filming Predator in Mexico a few years earlier. This time he had it written into his contract that all of his meals had to be privately catered and flown in directly from the United States. So in the end, Total Recall may be far more than just a violent sci-fi blockbuster. Behind the explosions, mutants, and Mars gunfights lies a film packed with abandoned endings, philosophical puzzles, and strange connections to other sci-fi worlds. Whether Quaid truly saved Mars or never left recall at all, the most unsettling question remains the same. If a perfect illusion feels real, would you even want to wake up? Thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed this deep dive, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more hidden truths from classic films.